What's going on? I'm doing paintless dent repair today. Fixing some hail damage. How's it going, Nestor? How's it going, Mikhail? Yeah, I'm doing some PDR, paintless dent repair, here in Texas on a Chevy Silverado hood. Not real big hail, small hail. There's just a lot of little ones. Between quarter, some nickel, quarter, a few oversized. But we're going to be fixing the hood without doing any painting. So I'm just, with a series of tools, getting behind the metal and massaging these dents out, recreating the original shape of this hood. So fixing dents without having to paint, without having to sand it down, Bondo, or paint. So I get behind the metal with a bunch of different tools. This one is called a brace tool. So on the back side of the metal here, there's different access holes. We get the tool up into the access hole. We call this a brace tool because this is able to get into the braces. If you've ever seen the bottom of your hood, when you open up your hood, you can see that structure that's under there. It's called a brace structure. So these get into that bracing, and then you can see just how sharp this one is. And just methodically get behind the metal and slowly push it back out. So thank you, Shopping Cart K. How are you? Yep, doing some paintless dent repair today in Texas, fixing some hail, getting behind the dents here and pushing them out. Y'all doing all right? Everybody let me know where you're from. This will be my first time going live, so everybody that jumps in, welcome. I appreciate you being here. If you have any questions about paintless dent repair, please feel free to ask. This dent's right at the edge of a brace. So, there we go. This one's just inside. Now when I don't have a brace, I gotta create my own little leverage and use a rod to push the dents that are out in the open. You just want to be real careful. Put the tool tip right in the deepest part of the dent. We're just gonna flex. I just flex with the metal. I don't force the dents up. I don't want to do anything that the metal doesn't want to do. Yeah, your metal is made of a structure of atoms, and surprisingly, even a lot of dent guys don't really dive deep into what they're fixing, and the fact of the matter is there's a science behind the metal, and if you understand what happens when an impact from whatever kind of object hits the panel, if you understand what happens in that moment, where the displacement of that energy and proper tension and compression, if you don't understand that, then it just takes a lot longer to really learn this, let alone try to have a successful career. And so understanding what happens when metal is damaged makes a lot of these little dents come up real fast. So I'm just being real precise with where I push. Maybe I'll change the angle of the camera here just a little bit. Get a couple of these. Get some of these dents rolling first. Goal is to bring this back to the condition it was prior to the storm. The goal really is to have the customer see it and react like, well, where'd they go? Like it never happened. That's a happy customer. So Paintless Dent Repair keeps the original parts, the original paint, and that's where you keep all the value on your vehicle. Once you start replacing stuff and painting stuff, that is where your vehicle starts to devalue. And surprisingly, the curing process that the paint goes through from the manufacturer, the curing of that paint makes it real durable, so I can get real aggressive with how I push and flex with it, and then also when knocking down here on the top side. But surprisingly, as durable as this paint is from factory, it's only the size, it's only the thickness of a Post-it note. I'm gonna move this over just a little bit here. There we go. So it's pretty special when you're able to fix the damage and not compromise this paint here. Right, there we go. Well, I don't know if there's really a setting on here. I'm sorry about the bright lights, you guys. First time going live. I'll mess with kind of the setup over time. I haven't decided where I want to set everything up. I may put a monitor over here so I can actually see y'all's comments in real time. So I promise you I'm not trying to miss any or ignore any, but I am grateful y'all are here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are interested in paintless dent repair. This year I'm going to be releasing quite a few videos on just what dent repair is, how to start getting into PDR. PDR is just short for paintless dent repair. But I would like to be a part of the fight to kind of tear down the curtain when it comes to PDR. It's still a mystery to a lot of people, and I don't want that to be the case. I'd like anybody and everybody to be able to get into PDR if they're interested, and make it more accessible. Because when I got into it, it wasn't. It was very much a gatekeeper mentality, the group of guys that were at least in PDR when I was introduced to it. So and that motivated me to start teaching. So if you're interested in training, that's what I do in Texas now. I work on a few retail cars, but I'm doing more training these days. So one-on-one training, not in a classroom setting. You don't get lost in a whole group of other students. You get my full attention. It's one-on-one in Texas. All right, so we're just going to use each of these brace tools are designed with a different angle, bends, kicks. That way we have a variety of options to be able to get into a brace and get that tool tip right where we need it to, right behind the dent. So if you ever see a PDR guy's cart, they'll have a whole bunch of tools And that's just to give us variety to be able to reach behind the dents, because behind the dent, it's not just wide open. There's a structure, a bracing structure, and that's just to provide some stability in your panels. But when it comes to fixing a dent, it presents as obstacles. So we find a way to get a tool right behind the dent, work it out. Like I said, these aren't real large dents. Got a few dime and nickel sized dents. A lot of them are quarter size. There's a couple of oversized. And on this particular claim, the insurance replaced the hood on paper. So we have a pricing matrix that's built into your insurance. And once we go around to all the dents and we count them all, and we determine dent count and the size, there's a dollar amount that the insurance will pay. And if it exceeds the amount to replace that panel, the insurance goes with the cost-effective option and replaces it. Now the cool thing about PDR is we're able to communicate and team up with the customer and decide whether we want to save these panels or replace them. So if your insurance stops at the cheaper option and replaces it, but you come to me and you say, hey, like, is there any way of saving this panel? I don't want to replace it. I want original panels, original paint. My job is to get in there and find a way to preserve and keep these parts on your vehicle. So although your insurance, well, at least in Texas, if your insurance writes to replace it, then you have the power to communicate or to decide on a repair plan with your body shop. And if you guys choose to repair it, you can do so. And the benefit there is that's where the value on the vehicle remains higher. So if we can save panels and keep your value on your vehicle, that's where PDR shines. Right. So some of them we have to push them just a little high. Actually, I'm gonna use a different knockdown. Some of them we have to push the dents up just a little bit high intentionally, so we can get the bottom of that dent up. And when we do that, we come in just like we have a series of tools to push them from behind. We've got a whole collection of what we call knockdowns. So we have a whole bunch of little knockdowns, and you can see each little tip has a different shape and it moves metal differently. So we got some plastic, some metal, some rubber, leather. We use these knockdowns on here to knock down those little high spots that we push up. But more importantly, we use them to break up pressure around a dent to let that metal move a lot more freely with more ease. So when the impact happens, boom, the hail hits this panel. Because there's a science behind the metal, that energy radiates outwards, but it's met with a uniform structure, and so it's met with resistance, comes to a stop. So as the energy travels outwards, it comes to a stop, and that little visible ring around the dent, this little area, that is where all that pressure gathers up. We call that the crown. That's where that pressure gathers up. So sometimes we use these knockdowns to relieve that pressure so we can get behind that dent and continue to push it up without having to force it. So let's see, this one is, find a different angle here. Also, when I'm using these tools to get up under it to push it, I want to be real mindful of the access holes that I'm using. I don't want to disturb the finish, so I don't want to ruin the paint on the back side of the panel, and it's not going to have the gloss and the flake and the pearl that the top side of the panel is going to have, but still that coat that's on the bottom of your panel is also protecting the metal from the elements. So we don't want to introduce too much damage back here as we're trying to repair the damage up here, so we don't cause any corrosion in the metal. All right, all those little bitty ones, I got this pretty good one right out here in the front. Let's see what's going to be the best. Let's see if this brace is open. That brace is some adhesive. There's a little bit of glue in there. This tool that I was just now using, this is called a whale tail, and I bet you can guess why, because the end of it looks like a whale, but you can see how thin this is. So where a brace tool can't get into an opening, this will slide right in between those braces. So if the top of your skin here that we see is up here with the dent, this will slide in between the top panel and the brace structure. It'll slide right in there, and as it gets in there, then we turn our hand, and it allows the one side of the tool here to get leverage, and the other side gets right behind that dent and is able to start working out that dent. So it's a whale tail. You can see real thin, gets in between those braces, but it's super strong, so we can really get some good pushes, get some good leverage. And the metal that they use, the way they heat treat it, the way this is designed, it's also designed for us to be able to bend it and shape it and really get into some intricate areas, but also be able to put it back and it still be just as strong. So it's pretty cool stuff. Looks just like, you know, a little piece of metal, but there's a lot of thought and intention behind the design of these, which is why PDR tools are as expensive as they are. So it's not a cheap business to get into for sure, but man, the small progression over the years of buying just a little bit of tools here and there, they turn around and continue to make your money back, I promise. So if you're getting into it, just, you know, like my mom says, how do you eat an elephant? Just one bite at a time. So take your time, buy a little tool, just one or two tools here and there. It'll add up over time, I promise. All right, let's see if we can bring this in and let you guys see this dent here. Let's see if that'll show up. Yeah, it does, kinda. This one right out here. All right, we're gonna put that there, and you can see the PDR light here. Our light is set up to be able to give us a really good reflection to see the damage truly as it is. We move here. If we look at that same dent without the light, okay, I'm gonna have this. Now this is aluminum, so this magnet's not gonna stick to it, but I'm just gonna set this right here or here. That's just wanting to roll on me. Here, I'll take this knockdown. So this knockdown's gonna point right at that dent. And if I remove the light, you can see the damage is real faint. You can barely see this dent. In the camera, you probably can't see it at all. So you can't see it at all in the camera. And imagine a lot of customers have damage on their vehicles that they're not even aware of, which is common. You see that quite a bit. You know, we don't look at our cars the same way as PDR technicians do. So and outside and on lighter vehicles, and yeah, on lighter vehicles, it's just real hard to see outside in the natural light. The way light bends off of the panel and to our eyes, a lot of that damage hides outside in the daylight. But so we bring it inside, we control the lighting, we cut out that natural lighting, put on our PDR light, and now we can not only just see the dent itself, but we can also see how far it's affected the metal, how far that impact has truly affected that metal. And as I lower my head down and look across that metal, I can really see how stretched that metal is. And so on camera, you could probably see it right in here, but when I lay my head down, I can actually see the metal stretched way out here. So this dent would be considered an oversized dent, because looking straight across the metal, you can see that the warping stops right up there. Now this one's in a tricky spot, so we're gonna try what's called a pick. This is a pick tool, and it just looks like a giant toothpick. So we've got ourselves a pick tool. It's gonna go right inside the opening here. In fact, I think I'm gonna lock these wheels down so it doesn't move around on me. There we go. Lock the wheels down. You can see I'm just going to start flexing right behind it. And I don't want to flex out here or out here. I want to start right in the dead center of this dent. And I don't want to force it. Or what you'll do is you'll start getting these little high spots. We call them high spots. They'll look like a little poke where we've used our tool. And you can see, as sharp as the tool is here, I don't want to be forcing that dent anyway. But the sharpness of the tool allows us to make some very precise changes in the way that disrupted structure of those atoms is now. So my job is just to massage it, kind of guide that structure back to how it was designed to be. So not forcing it, just going to stay on the back side of that, and patient, and start guiding that metal back. I'm going to flex a little bit, kind of see how it's wanting to move for me. I can see there's a little pressure, micro pressure on the outer ring of this thing, but there we go. Starting to get a little movement here. Dent repair is a patient man's game. I'm going to give myself a little leverage back here. So you'll see this little poking up over here, but I'm just using another tool. Because of the shape of this access hole, it's a little strange, so I'm using the edge of another tool to leverage off of. And I'm just going to be real patient, flex this thing out. This must have been a pretty wild shaped hailstone, because as I'm getting it up, I can start to see the very bottom of this dent doesn't have a nice round soft impression. There's a little crease in the very bottom of this. So I'm going to push along that crease for this last 30 to 40% here. I'm just going to be real patient. There we go. All right. About 20% left. All right. May have to change the battery out on my light. Getting a little dim on us. Yeah, I think I'm gonna change that out after this dent. Alright, now I've got this little micro crease at the very bottom of this hail dent. So I want to push along the shape of that imperfection. Allow that little release to happen here. There we go. We got about 5% left. It's always that last 5% that a lot of technicians will stop. They'll stop right there, pass it on to the customer because they know customers really can't tell the difference. Here, to finish that out, I'm gonna switch this battery out. It's already 3:30 my time, so I've been running this all day. Let me get us a fresh battery. Batteries that we use are they're an AGM battery, so it's like stuff you use on little motorsports or water sport. AGM 12 volt, 35 amp hour, and they're deep cycle batteries, so we can continue to recharge them. That might just be my light. Yeah, there's a little more juice. Make sure this other one's kicked on. Charger. It's charging, all right. So yeah, that battery was pretty low. Alright, so we got this last little 5% here. I'm gonna use that pick again. Well, the straight tool. And I massage out those little details, and you can see I just lower my head real low. I look straight across the panel, and now I'm looking for those little micro shadows that are presented as the light from my Dent light cast across this surface. Anything that's even slightly lower than the panel's design will show up. It's just this tiny little shadow. So I'm just going to get my tool right in there, put it right back level. I'm going to turn my head sideways just a little bit so I can kind of cross-check as I'm finishing this dent out. I don't want to just work it with my head in one spot. I don't want to just look at it like this the whole time. I like to turn my head to the side just a little bit so I can make sure from every angle we're getting that metal up. So now I'll cross-check from over on this side. There we go. I'm gonna have tiny bit of knockdown, very little. Very little. This should finish it out here. I'm going to use a little polished tip knockdown. You can see the very end of it's going to be, I don't know if I can get that to focus. Very tip of it is polished there. So you just put it right on where the imperfection is. We're going to hammer it down. Now hammering is not like we're putting up a frame at home for the wife. Not the same kind of hammering. So I might have myself a loose cable or a loose wire over here. It's not letting all that power flow through. But back to what I was saying, knocking down or hammering in our industry is not like hammering at home. You can see I'm not wanting to drive through the panel. I'm not hitting to drive through the panel. Every time I'm hitting, my hand is already coming back up and kind of preparing for that next hit. Now, if I hit, my hand backs off, it allows more energy to be dispersed. I'm trying to create some energy in there rather than driving that energy through. So to be able to knock that down clean, it's almost bouncing off of the surface rather than driving through. So everything you've learned through life, doing home projects or any kind of construction, this is not that type of hammering at all. So plus we've, like I said from the very beginning of the video, we've got this Post-it note thickness of paint on here, so to be able to do this little dance of getting a dent up without having to paint and Bondo, and keeping the original finish on this panel without having to replace it, pushing that dent up and knocking it back down, and restoring how this panel was supposed to look from factory, is where PDR is the art that it is. Let's see. There, it's wanting to kick on a little bit brighter there. I think after I get off of here, I'm gonna disassemble and check all of. I might just have a part of the cable that's gotten worked over the life here in the shop. So we're gonna do this last little 2% of this dent. Super small details. What a real PDR tech is gonna focus on. Not fixing it until the customer can't see it. Fixing it, truly fixing it. That's what I like to do in here. So I'm not the right shop for everybody, but I promise you, put your car in my hands, it's gonna get done right. Yeah, I definitely got a loose cable. I have to cut those wires and reconnect. Let's see. There we go. And you electricians out there, I know I'm not using the right terminology, but I'm a dent guy, not an electrician. All right, here we go. Nice. Push it up just a tad high, get that little bitty micro wrinkle out of there. And now I'll knock down. Little bitty crease is worked out. Now we can get in there. It's always that last 3 to 5% that it might take just a tiny bit of back and forth. There we go. Here, we're gonna just slowly flex into that a little bit. Alright, dent this size usually doesn't take that long, but just where it's located and the way the very bottom of that dent was shaped just needed a little more attention. Where are you guys from? Where are y'all tuning in from? Let's see. What settings does it let me? Again, this is my first time going live, so kind of playing around with the screen here, seeing what all is available. So on the YouTube side, it's showing 6 of y'all in, 5 thumbs up. Thank you. I think that's a good percentage for the first time to have, you know, a little over 90% people giving me a thumbs up. Much appreciated. All right. And back from the other side, I see just a tiny bit, and one next to it. So I got 2 right next to each other. Little bitty. Today's kind of goal was to just see how the live goes. But if this was of any interest to you, what I'm going to be doing is going live, probably with my students. It being Sunday, I'm usually not at the shop unless I've got a personal project, or not personal project, retail customer that I'm trying to finish up. So I'm never on the shop on Sunday with a student. During the weekdays when I am live with students, or when I am with a student, I think I'm going to start going live. Just so people can see what the training process is like, if it's something that interests you. All right, now I'm gonna move this camera back just a little bit. Right in here. There we go. Undo this lock. Bring this around just like so. So when you got hail damage, you got dents, all kinds of different angles. We want to be constantly moving our light around so we get the best visual. Let's see, let's put this right here. There we go. Thanks, guys. I think I'm gonna get a drink. Stop drinking any kind of energy drinks from gas stations. So now, shout out to Jocko. Give me a nice Jocko Go every once in a while. All right, so we got dents in this little section here. Let's see, we got a nice little opening. Here, let me show you guys when I'm talking about the bracing structure under the hood and how you get a tool in there. I'll show you what that looks like. So, up under the hood, you can see these little cutouts. So these little cutouts, this is where that last one was. It was just tucked, or this way, tucked in there just a little bit, but the angle, it was kind of straight up. Now when I have these rounded little access holes, when I get my tool in there, I'm leveraging off that metal right away. These little cutouts here, if the dent's right over it, you just kind of find a way to angle your tool to get the right leverage. But right now we're gonna be using these right up here to get the dents that are right here in this section right here. There we go. Tighten this back down. All right. How's 2025 treating you guys? Really just another day. It's another day. I think you need to treat every day during the year the same. Just because it's a new year doesn't mean, you know, you gotta make all these new efforts. I say treat every day as a day you didn't, you're not promised. So every day is a new day. Here we go. That wasn't really that deep, was it? All right. Not too bad here. We're going to go back to this pick, just from that angle. There we go. Got little bitty ones. Got a dime size right here. You just want to make sure your precision is right in the center of this thing and rebuilding it. There we go. Little bitty ones off to the side. I think he had one little storm, caused some small dents and wasn't worth claiming. And the storm that did come through and cause the damage that was worth claiming is what I'm getting paid for. But now that I'm on the panel, I can see even the teeny tiny ones from the prior storm. This is a truck that I've been servicing for 6 or 7 years. So this is the second hail damage repair on this truck. It's my work neighbor. Let's see, we're off here to the side. Y'all able to see that one? Let me see. Here, let's bring this in just like so. Right here. There we go. You can kind of see it in the light there. So what we do is we call find your tool tip. So watch, I'll push off to the side here. Our dent is right here. So if you push over here, you can kind of see the tool tip when I start to push through and flex with it. So, you know, a good practice is to find your tool tip off to the side, slowly walk it into where the dent is, find your way right behind it, So we push just hard enough to flex with it so you are confident of where your tooltip is, but you don't push too hard to where, or commit to the push where it starts to actually cause change in the metal. So we just find it out here on the side, walk it into right where the dent is, and that's where you start working on that eye-hand coordination and that trust that you're putting that tooltip right where it needs to be. And you're looking for little characteristics of how the metal flexes when you do push. When I push and it flexes and I see that I'm not where I'm supposed to be, I just back off from that push, uncommit from that push, readjust, put it where it should be, and just slowly flex with it. Now these sharper tools, the benefit is if your tooltip is right where it needs to be, it will more efficiently, more effectively break up that pressure and let you rebuild that center and lift it up in a more natural manner rather than forcing it. And you'll be able to see a technician's work. If he's forcing that dent to come up, you'll see a bunch of little bitty push marks. And my job is to meet precision, and you want to get a good little flow going. So good little flow, get some metal energy going on in that, or energy going on in that metal with the precise precision of my tooltip, and that will allow the metal to come up a lot more natural where you can't see the work. This truck doesn't have very heavy orange peel, so I want to be very careful with how I work this. I don't want to create any texturing that doesn't belong here. So yeah, Chevy has like very little texturing in its orange peel. It's really smooth, and so if you push in the wrong spot and you leave it, you'll definitely see it. Now on a white truck, you're probably not going to see a lot of the mistakes that a technician can make. So you'll see a lot of guys kind of get away with murder on lighter color vehicles. But man, if you ever want to know if your dent tech is a good tech, give them a darker colored, hood or panel to work on, because you'll see every bit of their work. You'll just see the little bitty highs, little micro highs and micro lows. All right, so we still got a couple people in here. This is kind of cool, man. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I'm trying out this Hollyland Lark mic connected to the phone. If anybody doesn't mind giving me a thumbs up or a comment down below, let me know if the sound is good. Like I said, first time going live, and not sure if this is the setup or if I need to go with the traditional like computer and camera connected to the computer and streaming it through something like what's it called? OBI or something like that, software, so you can stream. But this is just straight through my iPhone and a mic connected right to the phone. So if it's good, let me know down below. Last thing I want to be is a nuisance in sound. I want you guys to be able to take in what it is that I'm trying to put out. All right, so we're going to do a little adjusting here. I'm going to be moving over into this section, moving over into this next little section. So I'm going to move the camera and the light around just a little bit. Start with the cart. Bring the light over here. You always want to be watching where the feet, the little legs of the light, be watching where they're at. Raise this up just a hair. So we want to be watching where those are at, where your light is. We also don't want to introduce any new scratching into the customer's paint. So I'm going to get this moved around just like so. Let's lock this down. Let's turn this around just like this. There we go. Let's bring this light in for you. All right, so we're going to be working in this little section here. I'm going to push a few up in this area. I usually like when it's on a hood, almost like we're mowing the lawn, I'll have a pattern. I'll start at one side and I kind of just sweep through cleaning up. This will be, even though I'm cross-checking at the same time that I'm repairing it, my head going left and right, my major cross-checks happen after I do kind of one sweep through, pushing up dents, making them look good, and then I do a major cross-check. So I turn the hood and work it from different angles so I can really make sure that we're picking up that metal like we're supposed to, because when an object hits this metal, because it is a structure of atoms in a sea of electrons, that energy is going to be radiating out in every direction. So it's not just, you know, on a 2D plane here. I can't just look at damage and fix it like that. I got to be turning my head and make sure I'm accounting for every little angle. All the tension and compression has to be put back in place. So it's a constant cross-checking in the repair process in order to account for everything. So I'm going to fix up here, but I have a process, and I'll kind of sweep through the panel like this. But what I won't do is I won't fix this front little lip or back here, this back lip, or that front lip. I'll just kind of fix everything from about right here up until right in here. And then I use, except for right here on the edge, but this little section right in here, I'll usually turn the hood sideways. So right in this area, we're gonna work, you know, about basically a third of this hood here. And then we'll move up front and work the very front side. So, and if you create a process as you're learning PDR, it'll kind of help you help hold yourself accountable to fix all the damage. You won't miss anything. So create little bitty processes for yourself, and you're less likely to skip over something and miss something. All right, so we got this dent right out here, and I'm using a smaller whale tail. It's gonna squeeze right into a brace. There's a brace structure right here, so I can't just get right up under the dent and just push the dent up. I've got to get in that brace and then twist into the damage. I was gonna play some music since this is my first time live. I was gonna play some music, but I'm not sure. And although I've had less than 10 people in the room so far, so I don't think YouTube is gonna be too hard on me. I'm not making a dent on traffic, you know, causing a problem for people like some of the big streamers are. So I don't know what kind of copyright issues I'd run into if I did play music. So I'll look into that, do some homework. I'll try to be a better host for you guys in the future. If there's some music that I can have playing, I surely will. I do have a subscription to Epidemic Sound for when I'm editing. I wonder if that applies to live music though, live streaming. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of backwards dent repair. Backwards knocking from behind like this. So a few of these Brazilian guys taught me this early on. Gotta be real careful though when you're hammering from the back side. You can definitely crack paint if you hit too hard. All right, so I was tucked right into that seam there. And if you guys have any questions about PDR or dent repair, feel free to ask. How's it going, Victor? It says the message is retracted on your side, brother. Thanks for joining us, though. We're doing some PDR today. Paintless dent repair, fixing damage, fixing some hail dents here in Texas. I'm gonna lock this other wheel. I'm gonna get my hat flipped around here. Hat flips around, you know we're getting down. All right, we got a couple out in the open right here. And that small one that's tucked up in here is also out in the open. Here in a minute, I'm gonna try moving the camera down a little more straight across the panel, see if I can give you guys that visual of the dent moving even closer. Those are all out in the open, so I'm gonna create a little leverage. So I have this thing called a hanger. So those brace, or the access holes that I was showing y'all just a little bit, this little tip right here will hang up into the bracing, and then this will hang down. And this is where I can now stick my tool in there and use it as leverage. So let's just say, I'm using this. This is a double bend. This would be considered a 24-inch double bend. This is a little push rod from Dent. So 24-inch double bend, boom, boom, 2 points here. Fairly sharp tip. This is an interchangeable tip here, so you can take this off and put on different tips depending on how you want to move that metal. This is a Dent 24-inch double bend, and this is also a Dent metal push tip. This is the, if you're interested, the Dent B2. So this is the B2 tip. So it looks sharp, but it's not the B1 sharp. It's fairly sharp. It's got the slightest little round at the top there, so I can still get aggressive without causing any damage. But I'm gonna create a little leverage point down under the hood here. This is gonna hang down just like that. So as it hangs down, I can take this tip, go right in here, and now with it hanging, I can create a little leverage point and push right behind. So we're gonna hang this. Okay, does that show up there? Kinda, no? Almost shows. You can see it hanging right there. So I'm gonna put my tool in there. So now you can see it's leveraging off of that, and now I can push behind the metal. Let's see if I can make a flex for y'all to see. Yeah, see how it flexes back there? See how that light comes to a pinch? Right here, that light's gonna come to a pinch right there. So that's the impact that my tool tip is having back there. So I'm gonna walk it out, find my tool tip right behind these little bitty dents. We got 4 or 5 dime size little bitty ones out here we're gonna clean up. Again, not forcing it, just flexing with the metal. I don't wanna, just like when we were knocking down just a little bit, and I said you don't wanna knock down through the metal. We're not driving through the metal. We're not driving a nail through the metal. We're bouncing off of that surface. It's the same thing on the back side. When I push, I'm not looking to push through the metal. I'm flexing with it. I'm always pushing with the metal and knocking down with the metal. I'm never forcing it. If you'll create that habit, and not any bad habits of forcing metal, then with time and repetition, what you'll find is your work will always be really clean. And what do they say? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So you want to create good, clean work. Take your time, and the speed will come naturally. You'll be fast if your work is on quality. So let's flex with this just a little bit. These are little bitty ones. You probably can't even see them in the camera. My eyes picking them up. They're super tiny. Customer probably doesn't even see these, but like I said, the vehicle's here in the shop. I'm gonna do my best to bring this back to its natural design as possible. Turn my head a little bit, get a little cross check even on these super small ones. Couple pushes on each one from the side. There we go. Those are looking good. This metal is aluminum. This is aluminum. I stated that earlier on. Turn my head over to this side now. From this angle, we just see the slightest little bitty low. Real soft lows. But this is this is aluminum. And aluminum has a tendency to kind of go back to right to how it was after you push it. If you don't push it with precision, you're very intentional with your your push pattern, where that tool tip is landing. When you push on aluminum, it won't even budge. It'll go right back to how the damage looked if you're not very precise and moving that tool tip around. All right, so I'm gonna knock down just one little tip. I'm gonna lower this light down just a hair. There we go. Let's see. Right across this panel. There we go. All right. So now I got that little low revealed itself. Pretty cold here in Texas for Texas weather, at least. I did have one customer come by earlier today so I could put a sticker under her hood that came in. And man, when I was outside, I was reminding myself to be grateful that I have a shop with a heater. For the past, well, I've been in this unit for a year now, but before that, for 7 years, my unit did not have heating and air conditioning. And man, oh man, that was quite the experience. Now this one that's right on the edge over here, right in this seam, there's a teeny tiny one, but because of where that seam is, it's super tough. It's very taut, so I'm gonna do the Brazilian style and knock it from underneath. Any of the knockdowns that I use under the panel, I don't use them on top of the panel. So your paint, your clear coat is relatively soft. And if you use any of these knockdowns or tools up under the panel, there is dirt and debris that gathers on the bottom side of these panels, as where the opposite on the top of the panel is happening, because we wash our vehicles, well, for the most part. But the dirt and debris under the hood, people usually don't address that. So if I use a knockdown up under the panel, and I'm hitting under the panel, and I get any kind of scratching from that dirt and debris or buildup on the bottom of the panel, and scratch this tip when I come back up here, and then use it as a knockdown on top of the paint, then I risk scratching and marring this paint. So I'll use separate knockdowns for the underside of the panel, and then I have a separate set for on top. But never get into a rush and use them both for use the same knockdown for both. All right, now this next little series, this one looks like it's out in the open, but it's not. It's right. I can catch that first little part of the dent out in the open, but I'm gonna have to use a whale tail to finish this one out. New York, awesome, man. Victor, very cool. Y'all don't get a whole lot of hail, but when you get it, it's heavy. I got a buddy up there working a storm, a couple of friends that are working a storm up there, and he said a lot of guys have turned away from that storm just because of the damage was so extensive. They're having to do a lot of either replacing, or that's the kind of damage that really puts a good tech to the test. And you know, the good thing on the insurance side is, you know, the pay is good, but a lot of it is replace and paint. So he said he's had a little bit of trouble getting guys to go up there to New York and work with him. A lot of large dents, a lot of replacing, or a process that we call push to paint. So the PDR guy, the paintless dent repair technician, the PDR guy will get behind the metal, push it up as flat as possible, so you don't have to replace. But to finish out that last bit of damage to restore it, then your paint guy would step in and take over and do any kind of skim, any kind of fill, and then paint. But the PDR guy will at least do a lot of the initial work and work that metal up, so that way every car doesn't have to have a couple inches thick of mud or filler, Bondo. So we do push to paint, fix it as best as possible, and then if we have to paint, then we'll hand it off. Now cause just the tiniest bit of a high spot here. I've been going to my VIP tip a lot today. This one, because it's right there on the edge of that brace, my tooltip has caused a little bit of high, so we're going to knock this little peak down and then get back in there and massage this thing flush. My family's originally from New York. Came over to Ellis Island. I think that they started Berman Grocery in, I want to say, 1936. They're in Brooklyn. So now we're gonna go this next little section here. Let's move this light back just about right there. This next little section, let's see. Yep, there we can see it right in here. There's a brace right there, so I'm gonna have to go back in with my whale tail. Always remove your leverage. I don't want this dangling back there, causing a nuisance, noise-wise. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here in this little section. Actually, these front ones are in the open. Okay, so it's just these 3 that are above that brace. So let's see what the glue is like above this brace. Actually, not bad. Now you can see that when the metal flexes downwards, I'm actually pushing right here. Because of the pressure of my push though, this is leveraging off of that. It's pulling the skin down over here. So when I push down on that brace, this is where the brace is glued to this top skin. So when I push there, it brings that top skin down with it. Now you gotta, this large dent right here, you know, possibly would have been larger if this brace wasn't right here, but where the brace sticks or is adhered or fixed to this top panel, it doesn't always allow all that energy to radiate as far as it would like. So this dent right here, you know, could potentially be held back by some pressure extended out past it. So, you know, I say all of that because a lot of dent guys don't just understand the basic science behind metal. And, you know, I say if you're going to do something, do it right. The little bit of time that we're here on Earth, man, you know, I didn't always take advantage of my opportunities. I wasted a whole lot of life before PDR, made a lot of bad choices, and, you know, took things for granted. And so now the stuff that I do spend my time on, I make sure that I'm doing it right. And so if that's a word of encouragement to anybody, you know, it's never too late to start redeeming yourself and your actions. And a lot of dent guys don't take that next step and understand the science behind the metal. And I don't know how you can actually fix something without identifying your problem. So the problem is there's a disruption in this in the structure of this metal. And my job is to find out where that energy went, put it back. So we're gonna lower this down just a hair. So I put this little padding around the edge of my light, so if I do touch the panel, the hard plastic isn't scratching the panel. So I move this just right. See this little section here? Yeah. Sweet. So these are out in the open. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna get a good little bit of leverage. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play around with this one. So this 2-pack of straps that Anson sells, these are pretty cool. So I'm gonna use some glue. I'll show you guys the glue. So we got our glue gun here, and you can see mine's beat up. Man, I've had this one for 7 or 8 years, but we're gonna take this glue. So it's just like a big hobby gun of glue, but this glue is designed to work on automotive paint. So I put the glue on here, it's gonna give a good hold, but it's not so much so that it damages the paint. So there is access holes back here that I showed you, but one of the cool tricks with this strap is to actually, let's give us a good surface to adhere to. So you want to use 91% alcohol. Make sure we get rid of all these oils. You know, I've been touching this panel, so I got my oils that are up here. I'm not touching it too much. That would probably keep this from sticking, but it's always good. Just give yourself a good grab. So we're gonna put this right here on the front side of this strap. Okay. Front side of the strap here. Grab this. We're just gonna stick this right here. Press this down. Hold that for just a second. There we go. So as that grabs, there's a front and back to this strap, so this part's not gonna be stuck to it, but this back side is. So if it was really bothering me, I could just put a little bit of glue right there and just kind of stick that down. This glue also releases off of this strap with that 91% alcohol. So the 91% is what releases that glue. But now that I got this strap here, instead of having to hook a hanger on the bottom side of this panel and the access holes, I've got now this strap hanging down with a D-ring, and now I can use this as leverage to take that same 24-inch double bend rod, go right into this access hole, and I can push off of this, and we'll flex out here. Yep, so you can see I can get behind these dents now, and this holds really good. I can put quite a bit of pressure on it. I don't need to because these aren't large dents, but at least I can work without, you know, the concern of this thing just popping off on me. It's not gonna. So get into there, get behind the tool or the dents with my tool tip, slowly massage, be patient. We're not gonna force it. We wanna make sure the precision of our tip is in the very bottom of that dent, and we're just gonna keep the tool tip moving, these little bitty micro movements, keeping that tool tip pushing and moving, the tightest little groups. We want to group all of our pushes. We don't want to push. I don't let my tool tip land in the same spot twice, but I am making these super tiny micro changes. So my front hand is really guiding it. My front hand is pinching this tip here, and just enough of that tip is pointing out up under that metal. So I'm holding this tip up underneath, and man, these fingers are going to work. They pinch this, and I let my arm be still, and I just let these little bitty micro movements with this hand happen, and I'm moving that little tip around throughout the bottom of that tip. So if I zoomed in, it would look like my tip is going like this under that dent, but really because of the smallest amount of movements that I'm making, as tightly grouped as those pushes are, it almost looks like I'm pushing in the same spot, but I'm not. This front hand, my guide hand, is fighting to keep that tip moving. And if you do that, then you end up with a very clean repair, an even rebuilding of that damage at the very bottom of it. Okay, and I pick it up enough in that light to where I need to lower my head down into the next light, look straight across that thing. Continue to keep my tip moving around. Build up that metal again clean. All right, so now we're in that last little 5 to 10%, or a lot of guys call it a day and move on, because at this point the customer can't tell where there's any damage. But you know what? The man above knows if you're finishing this thing out or not. That's who I fix this damage for. If I fix it to impress him, and your customer is always going to be happy. All right. There we go. A little flexing. So that one's looking decent. And then later when I do my major cross-checking, if I really see anything, I'll fix it then. As I move my head over here, I see, in the camera it's going to be difficult to see, but I see the slightest a little bitty low. This is the bigger one right here that I know you guys can see. Yep, so we're going to get, again, rinse and repeat with every dent. I'm going to find my tooltip, get right behind this thing, slowly flex. There's a little bit larger dent, so as I flex it, I can see just the immediate ring around the center of that impact. Kind of bunches up just a little bit, and that's where all that pressure is. So like I was saying at the beginning of the video, when the impact happens, when that hailstone or whatever object makes impact with your panel, what happens is the sea of electrons that this atom structure is in, that energy radiates outwards from the center of that impact, and then where that energy comes to a stop is where all the pressure is that's keeping that center of the dent from coming up. Yeah, you could force it, you could get behind it and just push it, but then you risk cracking the paint. And I'm trying to rebuild the center of this thing without having to repaint, without having to replace paint. But if you'll stay in the center of this and allow that to come up a little more natural, then you'll also not do what we call oil can the dent. So you lose the integrity of that metal. All right, so even lifting it up to that point, now I'm gonna lower my head down and work it in this last light. I don't know if y'all can see on my light, on the very far right and the very far left, I wrote on there 1 through 5. So each strip has a number next to it, and right now I'm looking in the reflection of number 5. So I'm looking at that in that cool white light, the reflection of the cool white light. And from y'all's angle, that dent was lit up in what, 3? 1, 2, 3. No, actually in 4. So you guys were seeing that dent in the reflection of light number 4. And over here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that in the camera? Yeah, very light. It's a blue marker, little blue marker over here. But I label those when I'm teaching the students. That's how I refer to the light in which I'm using to light up the damage. That way the student and I are on the same page. If our heads are at different heights or angles, we may not be seeing the same thing that I'm trying to get them to see or address. And so I'll say, all right, let's both look at this little spot right here in light number 4 or 5 or whatever. But that's how I refer to that little section. But through the repair process, what you want to do is you want to be pushing, to a certain percentage of repair quality in a light, but you don't want to finish it in that light. You lower your head down into the next one, get a little more improvement, lower it down to that last one, and then you'll be able to finish out the damage. And then in my cross-checking process, what I'll be doing is I'll be pushing that light back. That way I can really get a straight shot all the way across this metal, a really good visual of the true depth and damage, or true extent of the damage. So now you guys can probably see that in light number 5 now, almost. Yeah, pretty close, but you can see. Pushed up. Got one more little bitty one in there. I'm gonna get a drink. About halfway through this hood. I think on paper, if you're wondering what the value of this repair was, I want to say, since the insurance found an aftermarket hood, they go with the cheapest or most cost-effective option. I guess I shouldn't call the insurance cheap, but I'm sure some of y'all would probably disagree with me and have no problem with call the insurance cheap. So I don't blame you, but I got to work with them. So keep your enemy close, they say. All right, last little bitty one right out here. This one is in the open. Y'all able to see this one right here? Let me see where my finger's pointing. Let's move that back just a hair. See if I can get that lit up. Kinda. Is it? No, it's in the shadow. Let's see. Right there. Is that a little bit better? Kinda. Let's see what this looks like. Pulling it forward just a hair. There we go. A little bit. It's just bright. I wonder, let's see, what kind of, this is my first time live, so let's lower this intensity down just a little bit. I know that'll be easier on y'all's eyes, but on mine, here in person, I like it really lit up. I like to see all the definition of that damage. On camera though, that brightness is kind of a pain. Let's see, it's a little bit lit up. Well, we will, hopefully, in time, hang out and do some really large damage together. This one is just a nice, easy hail truck, I should say. Nice, easy hail claim. I'm more kind of hanging out and relaxing with this kind of job. This one doesn't have a high stress factor like the Hummer that I did last week. Really bad quarter panel damage. Or yesterday, I did a Dodge Stealth, a black 93 Dodge Stealth, and sweet condition. And that guy's from New York too. I think he's from Brooklyn too. But really nice Dodge Stealth. And that hood had already been painted. Yeah, there is a little love I need to give to the wiring on here. But he dropped the tool on top of that hood, caused a really sharp dent. I'll be releasing that video here pretty soon. I should have done that one live. That one took me 2 hours, but you guys probably would have seen me not so much in my greatest moment. I was sweating bullets that whole repair. You know, when a panel's been painted after factory, it's had any kind of work, and it's been painted before, that paint's not the same, so you gotta be real careful. You will crack paint. What's cool is the paint that they used was single stage, so as far as like sanding and polishing out my imperfections, I was able to get pretty aggressive with it. Let's see, is it this cable in here? Something is not letting me get that full. Alright, I'm gonna have to kick this thing back up. Sorry guys. I'll get you a large dent. I've had this light for quite a while. And PDR tools do cost a lot of money, but the life that you get out of them is really nice. So look, we got all this cleaned up. We got this cleaned up. You can see a teeny tiny dent up there. There's some up at the front. Pretty, you know, a little bit bigger ones up there. But for this section, I'll usually stop right in here. Let me see where these dents are. There's a couple right here. I usually save this front lip for when I turn the hood a little bit more sideways. I guess I could touch up a few of these. Yeah, just get a whale tail, and I'm gonna reach back towards me through this little brace. Kind of clean up this one right here on the front. There we go. And there's adhesive right here, so I can only go so far. Got that one right on the edge. And do a tiny knockdown, a little bit. As far as information y'all want me to pass on, to ask any questions, looks like I got 3 people in the room. First time live, and to have anybody hanging out with me at all is pretty cool, man. I I appreciate y'all. All right, let's see. Before I move in this middle rib here, let's see. Do I want to clean up a little bit more? Oh, you know what? This strap here's a good time. Since this is all under a brace and I won't be reaching out here anymore, this strap comes right off with some alcohol. So spray the alcohol. Let me get this little middle section, that top one where I put that little bitty drop, and it just releases. Peel this up. I might have given myself a little work for that one in between the two straps, but as far as the bottom side goes, just spray it and this alcohol will let it release right up. I don't want to pull too hard. And then the glue itself, just get a little lip up, and it's like I said, this is one of our colder days. One of our colder days here in Texas. So usually glue, once you get the alcohol straight from the paint, will come up fairly easy. But when we get into this colder weather, I mean, you could heat it. You could use your heat gun, kind of heat it just a little bit more. But this is, I just pushed this stuff down flat, didn't I? Now it's kind of stuck to it. I don't want to jack with the paint. Scratch it, it's white, you know. That's how a lot of techs will think. It's white. The customer's not going to see that. Any kind of marring that you do. I still want to be mindful of that paint, because those other guys can be as unprofessional as they want to be. Not here. What's really cool is, got these little cleaning scrapers, like from Mary Maids. These little flat cleaning scrapers. So put a little alcohol, just grab this little edge here. Really flattened this thing out, didn't I? That's hilarious. Because watch. A regular tab, when you put a glue on the tab, you put it down, you stick it. Once it hardens, even if we broke your tab off, even if you took the tab off, when you go to take the glue off, it just comes right up. But using that strap, when I flatten this stuff out, it holds. So typically it just releases. What a pain. Here, you know what? I'm being a little stubborn. So let's don't be stubborn. Buy all these power tools to save us time. Should be reaching for them faster. And I got my heat gun on the other side over there too. A little bit of heat, soften it up. That alcohol. There we go. Why didn't I do that earlier? Sorry guys. Let's get these little bits. There we go. And just in case, for all you detailers out there, got a little Little bit of polish on this pad. Just for anybody who saw my nails hitting that paint, was like, man, that was like fingernails down chalkboard and annoy you. Wasn't trying to annoy you. All right, that was a lot of time consumed. Sorry about that. Let's get into this brace here. Use a little bit thicker brace tool. This is quite a bit for this, but I'm gonna reach in there, use it as leverage. Just gonna get in that brace tool or inside of that brace and push under each one of these by twisting my hand into the damage. But sometimes I like a tool with a little more length, just to give me some nice leverage, and it just moves. Metal moves like butter. All right, here we go. Push that a little high. Let's get in this other one. There we go. Little bitty dents. Teeny tiny ones right there. We'll get to that bigger one here in just a second. Let's see, where's this one? All right, let's go with this brace. These little bitty ones aren't even dime size out here. Teeny tiny. Let's reach backwards. Oh, I'm gonna need a whale tail for that one. Back to the whale tail. Grab it just inside that lip there. Yeah, it's right above that seam. Right above that. The brace is right over this teeny tiny one. The edge of that. There we go. All right. I'm gonna use this knockdown in a little bit. Let's mess with this one. Those are the dents that are kind of hard for you to see. Let's work on something that y'all can see. Let's see, there we go. On these here, they're right above the access hole, so either straight shot or use something off. We got an access hole here and here, so I'm gonna use this one over here. I'm gonna use a tool, a brace tool, like a lefty brace tool, so it's gonna go into this access hole. It's right here, into that curve, up and over to this one, and then I want to be able to twist my hand this way so the tool tip lands right up behind that dent. And it's a sharper tool, so we got ourselves a sharper brace tool. And when I'm working dents that are really close to each other, I don't consider fixing each dent at a time. I'm working on this whole area. That whole area was affected. Those two dents have an impact on each other because of how we were talking about the way metal moves earlier. So let me just see how this little bitty one feels. Yeah, that's the edge of that brace too. All good. I'll push this one just a little bit. I may end up using a different tool. It might be too long of a kick here, so I'm gonna go with something maybe a little bit shorter of a kick. Yeah, I'm gonna switch up the tool. Switch that. Or actually, put the one in front of it. Let's see what the one next to it feels like. So you can see when I push it, when I push up under it, and it flexes together like that, where it comes to a stop. Like I'm gonna push it up and hold it, and the way it pinches that little ring, that's where the pressure is. It's in the immediate edge, outer edge, right around the center of that impact. This is where all that energy, that pressure gets stuck. And so now on a smaller dent, I can push through this. I just gotta be patient, keep that tool tip moving. But if I wanted to, if the dent was larger, I could take my knockdown and hit around that edge just a little bit, break up a little bit of that pressure, and then the center will come up with a little more ease. Let me change this tool tip. That angle of this kick is just a little bit different. Let's see if that's the one I want to go with. No. I'm just going to go with the smaller one. Here. So I want to find my tool tip right behind this. As soon as I see that I'm not right center where I need to be, I back off of the push, I uncommit, and then I make those little micro adjustments, getting right in the center of this thing. And the little bitty micro adjustments that I'm making are so tightly grouped, I'm not going to push in the same spot twice, but I want to keep that tool tip moving. So to our eye, it looks like it's pushing in the same spot, but it's not. If we could zoom in, it literally looks like it'll look like my tool tip is going boom, 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 making these tiny little a real tight grouping of pushes. But to our eye, it looks like it's just hitting in the same spot. It's just my front hand is fighting, my guide hand is fighting to keep that thing moving, real micro movements, and you can see I beat the crap out of your hand over time. Totally worth it though. We're making art. All right, here we go. Let's get that little crease on that back side there work just a little bit. Let's get back to the middle of this thing. As it comes up, I can kind of see the true shape of it and how the two impacts together they have an effect on each other. Let me go back to the smaller one real quick. Push just a little bit. A little flex with it. Little flex. Put a little bit of that in place. A little stability. Before finishing this one out, I'll go ahead and come back to that other one. Move my head a little bit, cross check a little bit. No, my pushing was off just a hair there. There we go. Get that one to about 90%. Come back to this other one. Might have been talking too much. It was off just a hair. Start to fold that little lip up. And this tip, this is not a sharp tip. It's that like hockey stick rounded edge. So when that's the case, you just want to be real precise. And those couple pushes were not that. So let's regroup, get back in there. I mean, it's still quality work, it's just I want it 100%. Put my head over here to the side. Get a little look from this perspective to get a little bit of progress. So, come over here, looks totally different. Brace, the access hole is, which is awkward. There we go. There we go. A little bit of micro crease getting worked out. And then it even looks different from this angle. So let's knock that down a little bit. It's going to look like I'm opening it back up again. There's a little bit, it's hard to see on camera, there's a little unaccounted for pressure just on that little lip immediately outside the center. So I'm going to go back in with a sharp tool. There we go. Now when I had my other shop, that was a good little tool slip. When I had my other shop for the past, well, I've been, like I said, I've been in here for a year, but when I had my other shop for 7 years, I had so many techs that came to work for me that they would have stopped on this, just this dent, they would have stopped on this like 50 pushes back. Because the customer can only see it to a certain extent. This light affords me the ability to be able to see every little detail. And because the customers are the techs, a lot of techs know the customer can only see so much detail, they will just stop at a certain point because their motivation for the repair is the money. You just want to get it pushed up, get it out of there. Now a lot of wholesale work is like that. A lot of wholesale work is like that, and I cut my teeth on a lot of auction work, a lot of wholesale work, and they're not looking for perfection. They want you to produce. They want you to push it up to where it's acceptable, get it out, and totally different business. But if you're doing insurance work, I say, you gotta give your customers the best quality you got that you're capable of, and then just one man to another, or one person to another, because there's some dent ladies. But just one human being to another, what is wrong with just taking pride in your work and taking things to as close to 100% as possible? You should be proud of what you do. This dent is right above this opening, so every time I push up on this edge of this axis, it wants to slip. And I've got just the teeniest tiny little wrinkle that I want to get up. There we go. Now I can knock that back down. Now I got a subtle low. What do I want to use? Let's go straight up with this. Now it's gonna look like I'm pushing a high, but what I'm doing is going after this little micro low intentionally. I'm gonna lift that up a little bit so I get that. From my angle, I can see the little wrinkle. There we go. Now I can just knock that down. Now, I really see how those two dents affected each other. This little bitty wrinkle right there. Finish it from the last angle from over here. And gotta love aluminum. It goes to show that my first couple pushes were not quite on point. There we go. Little slippage. And what do we do with the impact that we're having on this back side? Well, if we're doing extensive hail damage or hail repair, we're doing extensive hail repair, we want to protect that metal on the back side after all of our work, so we're going to use some E-coat and spray. Let's see some of my markers earlier. We're going to use E-coat on the back side of this because all of our pushes with our tools are scratching that paint on the back side of the hood. We're scratching off the coat that's on the back side. So as we push the metal, we're scratching that off. At the end of the repair, we go back on the back side and hit it, so we don't cause any exposure to corrosion or the weather causing corrosion. Let's move this back, unlock this wheel, take me a drink of my Jocko. Gonna work. I'm gonna leave these last couple little dents for later when I turn it sideways. We're gonna work it to about right here, up until about from like this dent to this dent. So right in this little section, right in here. Let's see if I can reach for that one out there. Can you hear that? These guys running out there, running their vehicles. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Victor, sorry for not checking back in there for a little bit. I was being a little stubborn chasing those little bitty dents. I appreciate it. Have I used the hot box? I have used the hot box. I've used the hot box and the knockoff one, the aftermarket knockoff one from Amazon. And surprisingly, it worked just as good. You can just tell the components that come with the knockoff version aren't as high quality, but I was moving metal just the same way with the $250 one as I was with the actual hot box. But you can tell, like each component of the knockoff, it's not the same. But it moves metal. You know, it's the same thing. It's conducting a current through there and moving those electrons around. So it's pretty cool, the knockoff one. But yeah, the hot box is really good, man. I like the hot box. I don't use it, if I'm being honest. So when I first got into PDR, my thought was, first of all, how do I move these dents? How do I move metal? How do I fix these dents? And the very first thing that I attempted in PDR was glue pulling. So, because glue pulling feels like a real natural way, an easy way of just putting a tab on top of the metal and lifting it up. So glue pulling sounds easy when you first think about it. But I was having a lot of trouble just doing glue pulling because I didn't understand how metal actually moved. I didn't understand what a dent really was, really for like the first 5 years. So instead of getting a tool behind something, because I was afraid to take cars apart, I didn't have any kind of car repair background getting into PDR, so I was really discouraged at doing any R&I, removal and installation, taking stuff apart. So I was real discouraged about R&I, and so if I don't take something apart, then I'm definitely not going to get a tool behind it. So I was really handicapping myself and putting myself at a disadvantage and not being able to put a tool behind a dent. So I was afraid of taking cars apart, which means I'm not pushing dents, which leaves me with glue pulling. But if you glue pull without understanding how metal moves, then all you do is just complicate the damage. So the next thought was, okay, well, I'll buy this cool little thing called the hot box. How long are we in here? 111 minutes? Really, we're almost 2 hours in. But I didn't buy the hot box. Sorry, I thought about buying the hot box because I thought, well, all the videos make it look like you just boom, put that right on top and move that metal up. But the hot box, the way it does conduct that energy and move metal and causes it to come together, that movement, the science behind that movement, it doesn't work over braces. So the dents have to be out in the open, nothing under it, and they need to be nice and soft dents also. So these sharper dents, these small, real sharp ones, and above a brace, the hot box doesn't work on that. So yeah, man, I'm glad early on I didn't buy the hot box because I would have probably disappointed myself only being able to use it in a couple of spots. But yeah, I've played around with the hot box quite a bit. I don't own a hot box. But I do have the knockoff version because last year I was real curious just to see, like, really how cheap is it? And it works. It moves the metal, but you can tell it's just the quality is not the same for sure. You're spending over $3,000 for a really good hot box and all of the components, the wand, the upgraded, touch point, and I think it's what, like $1,500 for just the unit. So. From Belgium. No way. June, how's it going? Very cool. Yeah, thanks for hanging out for a little bit. We're doing some PDR, paintless dent repair. You get any hail in Belgium? Let me know if you get any hail in Belgium. That's cool. We're worldwide. This is my first time going live, by the way, June. So to have somebody from overseas checking in. Unless it's like a small city in a state here, right? You're like in Belgium, Texas. I'm playing. Haha. All right. Is there hail in Belgium? Let me know below. That'd be kind of cool. All right, so we're going to focus on this little middle rib here. Let's see if I can turn this over my shoulder. Let's see. Where is that dent? Right there. Am I lighting that up? No, let's bring the light up a little bit closer for you guys so you can see some metal move. Let's see. So right here, yeah, we can see it just a little bit. Is that a little bit better? Oh man, put your glasses on, Dean. All right, that's a little bit, right? These aren't large hail dents, okay? I know that one. I feel like a weatherman. I point over here and the camera, it's going there, and I gotta do it backwards, but okay. Well, we got one, we got a little bitty one right here. Little bitty one. Jeez, Lou. I'm putting my contacts on next time I go live. So if it's lit up or not lit up, I can't see in the screen there. Sorry, guys. All right, let's see. We've got very little access. Got a nice little slot out there. Let's put this strap up. Let's get out a right. So we got one that kind of kicks off to the left. So this would be a right brace tool. The brace tool, it's the right brace tool. It's got a nice little arch here. It's very sturdy. Can't bend this and reshape it. It's fixed the way it is. Got a nice sharp little tip here kicking off to the left. So I got an access hole that's about right in here. So we're gonna get into that access hole, turn my hand back, and then twist into the dent here. Oh, little slip. Build up some of that little outer edge. Now, a lot of techs travel the world to go fix hail, and I have not been one of those techs. I have only stayed in the States. I got a lot of buddies that have been to Australia and all kinds of places. I want to say some guys went Dubai. Does that sound right? Somebody went somewhere in the Middle East last year, fixed a hailstorm. It was kind of a freak hailstorm. And because they didn't get a lot of hail, he got called out. So that was pretty cool. But I have not traveled out of the country at least. I've worked a storm in Jackson, Mississippi, Marble Falls, Texas, not anywhere near as far as Belgium. Alright, get that to about 95%. Do that last little percent when I cross-check. Alright, let's reach out to this one. Let me see if I can get that one lit up for you guys. Let me see, is that lit up? Kinda. Let me see what kind of access I got. Same thing, little slot. I think I'm gonna go with my pick on this one now. Little bits lifting up that. Alright, so we're going back to the pick. It's starting to roll out on me. Let's lock this other foot down. This leather caster. There we go. So back to the pick. It's just going to reach out just like this. With my guide hand out here, I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to be able to leverage down straight into that. And fairly sharp tip, not super sharp, but sharp enough to move metal precisely, as long as your tool tip is right on. And because of the way the tool is shaped, tool selection is also really is crucial, because you don't want to work hard for your dent to come up. You risk putting yourself into that forcing that little range of, now we're forcing dents, and we don't want to be doing that. Right tool selection, proper tool tip placement, flexing with the metal, moving that tool tip around, building it up evenly. And if that precision is there and you get a good little flow going, then you get clean work fast. You won't have to, kill yourself trying to do it. You just hear how different that metal is out there. It's where it's located. This is called your blending hammer. You can see here we got leather on one side, we got a polished metal tip on one side, little leather tip on the other side. Almost looks like the end of a pull cue, a pull stick, the cue. Little leather tip. Leather's gonna move it, real broad movement. The polished side gets a lot more precise, but this is your blending hammer. Again, with these kind of hammers, whether it's your blending hammer, your knockdown hammer, with these hammers, we're never looking to drive through that metal. We're not looking to hit it and drive it through the metal. We're looking to bounce off of the metal and cause movement in there. It's more of a shocking and bouncing off of. All right, so this middle rib is cleaned up. We're gonna move over to this next little section here. We got some dents right up here, but I'm just focusing on going from left to right, working this whole middle section. And then I'll work the front and back lip of the hood when I turn it, work to the sides. So we got a nice little section right in here. Good little cluster of dents. Well, my eyes don't see the screen as well. I can see the dents in the screen, but there's definitely more dents looking straight at this thing than there are looking in the picture here. There we go. GPR, yes sir. Whole different world. Love it. Yes, lateral process is cool as well. Just getting into this as well. Nice. I may invest, oh yeah, in the hot box. And look, I'm telling you, it has its place. It has its place, and it definitely go to work for you, but it's just like any other tool. Like, take the time, put in the reps with it. You'll get used to how it works, where you can use it. And in certain parts of any panel that's wide open and it's a nice soft dent, any of those dents that you can get lift up to speed up your repair, man, that thing will make its money back. I promise it will. Look, PDR is an art, man. If you're getting into this, just know, you hear some people say there's no right way or wrong way. There are wrong ways of doing this. The cool thing about PDR is there's just a lot of right ways to do it. It's an art, man. It's an art. PDR is an art, and how you get from point A to point B, from damage to repair, is, that's for you to be creative. That's your art. You fix this damage how you see fit. I may not reach for the same tool that you reach for, and you may not reach for the same tools that I reach for, but as long as we understand in your journey of learning dent repair, understand the absolute basics, okay? And that is just day one, start studying what is a dent. What actually is a dent, okay? Just what is a dent? Understand the science behind the metal. There's a structure of atoms, or it wouldn't be metal, so the science behind it is this is a structure of atoms in a sea of electrons. That's how the energy is able to conduct through this. So the dent is not just a surface blemish, It's a stretching. There's a pulling. There's an outward radiating outwards of energy. I mean, there's a lot going in just a dent. If you study those kind of what is a dent factors, then man, you'll love PDR, and you'll love the process of learning how to get really good at PDR. Yeah, man, I see a lot of guys get into this and then they get discouraged because they don't understand, what works, why it does and does not work from one dent to the next. But if you have a basic understanding of what dent repair is, what a dent actually is, and then what all the tools are that are available to you, you can start formulating a game plan. And when you start kind of stacking those skills, it becomes fun and effort, a lot less effort. Effortlessly, yeah. You'll make it look easy. But my first few years, man, I struggled through it. But GPR, all of y'all in the video, you've heard me saying PDR this whole time, so paintless dent repair. But GPR is glue pull repair. So that's what Victor is referring to, GPR, glue pull repair. And that's repairing the dents using glue pull as a primary. So glue pulling is literally, you got your glue gun, and this glue that's in here is formulated for auto repair. Okay, now let's say these little dents right here, if I wanted to use GPR, the process of glue pull repair, to fix these, I would take my glue, I would take my little tab here, I would put my glue on the tab, okay, glue on the tab right there, and then I would put the tab on the dent. Okay, so just like your tool, when you're up under the metal pushing, the precision is super important when you're pushing. The precision of where you place your tab is also super important. So as you start to study what a dent actually is, then you start to understand the importance of even the smallest things, of where your tab actually lands in that dent. Because wherever your tab is placed, it's pulling metal from right there. And if it's off just a little bit, it's going to be pulling metal that's disrupted, that we're trying to put back in place, and you can start to overcomplicate dents. But this, if I was fixing these using GPR, glue pull repair, I would put glue on the tab on the dent, and then I would use something to lift this tab up that would pull that metal. And in this case, I have a mini lifter. We call this a mini lifter. Has a little bitty portion down here at the bottom, little receiver, and it slides right over the tab. Okay, so we can adjust it and lower that down a little bit. Slides right over the tab, and then you'll see when I squeeze this, it flexes that metal. So it pulls that metal up. But today I'm using all PDR, paintless, or I guess PDR refers to the entire process of repairing a dent without painting, but we're not using just GPR, we're not using just glue pull. Today I'm an instructor, so I teach dent repair. So today being a Sunday and I'm hanging out doing an insurance job, a retail job where I can take a little bit more time to do a good quality work. Today I'm just keeping myself fresh or sharp, and I'm doing primarily pushing. I'm trying to make sure that I get a tool behind every dent today. So I'm working on precision. I like to not just teach, but I like to repair. So, the students know that I'm fresh at all times. So today we're doing PDR, but yeah, glue pull repair is a blast, man. I've got some stuff from Kiko coming in this week, man. I've got their K-Power Junior is what I have coming in this week. So it's like the bridge, and you turn it at the end and it creates some lateral tension. So like you're saying, yeah, the lateral process. So yeah, dude, it's really, really cool, man. I wish you well in this process, but keep it real simple. Understand what a dent actually is. Let's identify your enemy. Your enemy is the disruption in the metal. Identify it. Take a little time to understand the science behind it. You'll be glad you did. Because, man, small dents and large dents, they all fix the same. Whether it's a tiny defect or a large defect, what happened was this panel that was intentionally designed by the manufacturer with a very specific tension and compression has been disrupted. That structure of this metal has been disrupted. And whether it's a small dent or a large dent, our job is to be able to identify those features, and those features meaning when the impact happens, it's either low or it's high or it's a little bulge or crown where that pressure is. But our job is to identify those features and then understand what tools we have available to us to be able to formulate a game plan to guide that metal back to its original design. And it's fun, man. It is really fun. It's an art, but like I said, because it is an art, man, you know, you find what works and you'll find your style. But glue pull is really, really cool. Watch as many Kiko videos. Yeah, man, there's some cool stuff in GPR. And just the world of GPR has really started taking off the past couple years, man. That terminology, GPR, I don't think anybody used that 3 and 4 years ago. I mean, that I know of. GPR started becoming real common this past year, man, as far as hearing that terminology. But yeah, brother, that's awesome, man. What a great thank you. Description of a dent, awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, I got into dent repair with no guidance, no formal training, and struggled for years, unfortunately. You know, you'd find something that did work, and then you'd try to recreate it, but it wouldn't work, because the important thing is to understand the why behind what we're doing. So I was definitely discovering a lot of the what works, but it wasn't consistent. If you know the why behind what you're using and what the impact you're making and what you're even fixing, you understand the why, then man, you can fix some pretty gnarly damage, some pretty large damage effectively, and it is impressive. A really good paintless dent repair technician is very impressive to me. And you know, I think I'm good to where I can confidently teach somebody to get into this industry, but there are some monsters in this industry that are way better than me. I mean, y'all go watch Bryce Kelly. Bryce Kelly is killer, man. Y'all would like him. So Victor, I'm sure if you're already diving in, you probably heard of Bryce Kelly, but yeah, there's some great guys out there. But understanding what a dent is extremely important. And about 5 years in, I watched a video from a guy that I'll be forever grateful to. Oh my goodness, that's funny. My age is showing. I'm having a moment. Top Gun PDR. Oh my goodness, it's gonna come to me. Marty. So Marty Runick. That's another one, Victor. Look up Marty Runick, Top Gun PDR, man. Marty Runick changed my life about 5 years in, talking about tension and compression in the metal. And the light bulb went off. I'm like, oh, okay, there's more to the metal than I'm allowing it to be in my head. There's a science behind the metal, and everything just started making sense of why I was using what I was using and the impact I was having when I was trying stuff, and the why started making sense. So understand your why in anything, whether it's dent repair or putting on your shoes. Understand the why in anything, your relationships, when you cook, anything. Understand the why, and you can be pretty good at whatever it is that you're trying to do. So there you go. There's your motivational speech for 2025. Go after your why, understand your why. And this motivational speech brought to you by Jocko. Can you imagine if I was really sponsored? That'd be killer. All right. But I'm not. So I'll continue to be a patron. All right, so we got this little section here. Let's see, little section out here in the open. So your message said, we sure have hail in Belgium. Really? Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up now. I wonder if it's like large hail, small hail. I'm really curious now. I will. I can't because I'm on the phone. I'm filming on my phone, but I promised you, and I'll take a look and see what hail out there looks like. All right, so we got this open section. So again, I'm gonna set up some leverage. I'm gonna get my little hanger. All right, not a lot of really good access in here. I'm gonna have to juggle this little lip without letting my hanger slide off. And I might push, and this thing's gonna fall from under me, so don't giggle if it happens. Find this little spot out here. Again, when I'm pushing, I'm always just trying to find out where my tooltip is. Keep that thing moving. Precision is important. And because I have two dents stacked right on top of each other, I'm gonna kind of get a lot of improvement, not perfection on this one yet. I'm just gonna get some improvement and then bounce to the one that's in front of it. So ultimately, this whole area is affected. These two dents affect each other. So if I can get a little improvement on one, which is technically building stability back in that metal. So build a little stability on one, then you can bounce to the other one, and it will fix a little faster for you because it's got that stability around it that it can depend on and move a little more freely. So build this one up a little bit, and I'll bounce back over to the one behind it. Flex it a little. Okay, and as I get good improvement on these, I want to make sure I'm turning my head sideways and checking in with it. I'm going to lower my head down, and this light, the next little light, strip of light, so I can get a different perspective. Okay, again, take that back one up a few more percentage, jump to the one that's in front of it. Is that my marker that's in there? Oh no, that's the glue that I was showing y'all with the tab. So let me take this little bit of glue off. It's causing an obstruction in my seeing this dent properly. A little bit of glue in there. Promise detailers seeing me scratch this paint, I'm gonna get on there and polish. I promise. So my detailing journey, my journey going down the rabbit hole of being a detailer. So I also detail, but in that journey I realized the impact that I'm having on paint as a dent guy was something that I really needed to improve upon. You know, as dent guys, we get pretty rough with paint, man. We get pretty rough. Pushing, knocking down. We're pretty aggressive with paint, but you can get aggressive with factory paint. You can get pretty aggressive. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's only as thick as a Post-it note, which is impressive that we can do what we do, but because the curing process from the factory is totally different than like the guy down the street painting your car. Your curing process in the factory is way different, so it's pretty durable. It can hold up to some abuse, but I realized when I was, venturing into becoming a detailer, I realized, man, as a dent guy, I'm way too aggressive with this paint without giving it some proper care after. So Victor, I would suggest in this journey, also dabble in the detailing videos, learn to appreciate how to go back and care for the clear coat after your glue pull work. Learn basic polishing, maybe even go down the rabbit hole of ceramic coating and protecting the paint. That's what I do here in my shop. I am a dent guy and a detailer. So paintless dent repair technician and a professional detailer. So when my customers come to me, I want to push out the dents, and I also want to offer them long-term protection. So after I push the dents and I'm as aggressive as I need to be on sometimes large damage, I like to be able to offer them the peace of mind of putting a ceramic coat on there and then protecting that clear coat for years to come. I think detailing and dent repair go hand in hand. And I wish more dent guys, see, my hanger came right on. I wish more dent guys would look at it that way. I wish they would want to, detail, even if it was just ceramic coating. The services go together really, really well. Turn my head to the side here. Do some last little pushes from the side. So making sure I bring this up even. This going live was fun. For you guys that did pop in or hang out, thank you. This was cool being with y'all. I'm gonna do this more often. I like hearing y'all's journey, what y'all are up to, where you're from. So, glue pull repair is awesome. And now I get to look up hail damage from Belgium. And I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know I guess what is the official language there in Belgium. I can't hear you speaking, but you type well in English, so I wonder if you study English in the university maybe, or grew up in a family that spoke English. Maybe you're just out there and you aren't from a country that speaks English. Those two dents were affecting each other for sure. So we got this last little bit to push out. As you can see, like I'm really not in any hurry today apparently. So if any dent techs do pop in, they're probably like, dude, what is taking you so long? I'm in my shop, hanging out, messing around, I'm just enjoying the process. I'm in no rush. Alright, push a couple of these small ones. And the bitty ones. Those are above the brace. Those are above the brace. I'll catch that last 3 to 5% on the cross check. There we go. All good. I'm grateful you were hanging out. It's cool, okay? I have to leave. Hope y'all make another live soon. Awesome, I sure will. Thank you very much for your teaching. You got it. Belgian Hell may be pretty big sometimes. Keep on doing. Great job, very inspiring. Awesome. Thank you, June. That means a lot. That is killer. Large hail can be fixed, but if you don't understand what metal is, what happens when the impact happens, what a lot of guys will do is they either just get discouraged and don't fix it in the first place, replace and paint, or they attempt to fix large damage, but then they're not accounting for all that energy and where it went, and then they're pushing in the wrong spots, then they just oil can the metal. They end up flopping that metal is what we call it, oil can. All right, this, and I dropped that hanger. So these right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are above that brace. So I'm gonna get a weld tail again. I think what I might do, this brace is glued pretty good. From the back side maybe. Yeah. Might take y'all up to the roof for a little bit. Switch it up, get off this hood for a minute. Kind of mix it up. Just the edge of that brace is kind of playing with the tip of my tool there. There we go. Yep. Not perfect. Perfected in the cross check. Get this little one that's out here on the edge. I do have an access hole there. So right here. There we go. Left a teeny micro high. Let's see if we can break through. Sweet. Get a whale tail with a bigger head on it. So a little bit bigger one. I'm gonna reach back. That wider head allows me in a wider gap back there to get a little bit better leverage up behind this thing. So I'm literally reaching out like this and going like this. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, Dent Guy podcasts recently. And what's cool about PDR or just dent repair in general is we can now start separating glue pull from, pushing, glue pull, pushing, and even within that, the type of damage. We got hail guys, we got your traditional lot, route techs, doing dealers. This one battery is dying, so I'm gonna switch it out. I'm not even using my glue gun right now, so honestly, I'm just gonna put it up and let these batteries charge. Today's goal is just pushing. I can't wait to watch this back to see what this mic sounds like. See if it follows me across the room. I'm gonna be real embarrassed if y'all are hearing all my little huffing and puffing. But when I'm pushing dents, I don't realize What a mouth breather I can be, I guess. So, forgive me. Christmas, we were playing this little family game. I'll have to look it up. It starts with a K. I forgot what it is. It's an app where you can make these questions up. Everybody looks at the TV screen, and then all pull out your devices, and it's multiple choice. And when somebody gets the right answer, you push the button on your device. Everybody in real time, you can see when they answer it and the percentages of who's right and who's in the lead, now the points you're gathering and blah, blah, blah. But one of the made up questions was, who's the loudest snorer in the house? And I got picked on for that one, so. This was just a teeny tiny that little plastic tip, it just mars. Oh, I didn't use my polishing towel for that. That's another thing, anybody that's getting into repair, the detailing world is what opened my eye to the different types of towels. Most dent guys or GPR guys, most PDR and GPR, most dent guys use rags that are from their big box stores, off the shelf, big box stores, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Walmart, wherever they're getting, even like Summit. Summit has chemical guys stuff. They have other stuff, but most towels that everyone buys has a 80-20 blend of polyester or worse. It's real aggressive on clear coat. That's where you get all that swirls and scratches over time. But the detailing world is what opened my eyes to the types of rags that I was using. So now I only use 70-30 or better, and I order all my rags from the rag company. So let's see if that shows up on the screen there. It'll improve the quality of all of your repair. Yep, there we go. That's showing up. We got 4 people watching. What's going on? Y'all doing okay? Thanks for popping in. Where's everybody from? Victor, you still in the house? Grab a water. Right. Got this next little section. I'm gonna work it to about right here. I got a little dent right here, but I'm gonna work these little dents right here and then move over to the next rib. Some of these in the open. These 2 are still above the brace. So let's go back to the whale tail because it's in the shape of a whale's tail. Where it's at, that's a weird leverage right there. So let's slow it down, focus on precision. Yep, that's a weird spot. So I'm gonna get a little bit sharper tool. Something that's gonna go right over that lip and kick right over to that dent. So we're right out here. Got a little marker. That's my green marker. So let me get that out of the way. There we go. Clean that up. A little bit easier to see the damage. I'm just turning right into it. Flexing with the metal, not trying to force it. As long as my tool tip is precise and I keep it moving, I can slowly rebuild the bottom of this defect without causing a whole bunch of highs. I have to go in there and knock them back down. We can just build this up clean. This dent was not a perfect round dent at the bottom. As we're lifting it up, you can see it's got a little bit of a shape at the bottom there. I just want to keep my tooltip moving, my little push pattern to be in the same shape of that defect. I turn over, and I can see before I started cross-checking that I was causing just a little bit of a valley. I'm just going to follow that little valley up and work it out. Just keep my tooltip moving. Probably going to push a little bit of it high. So I have a lot softer spot to knock down. There we go. Real soft, subtle, high little area. Go in there, stay off the plastic for just a little bit. Like I'm reopening that dent back up, and I'm just knocking down some of that pressure. Now I can go back in again with that same tool, clean it up. There we go. Yeah, this was fun, going live with you guys. Y'all were great. I knew y'all were gonna be nice. You see so much negativity and hate on social media. It's wild, man. You know, it takes way less energy just to be nice. People that work hard to go out of their way to be negative to somebody, I'll never understand that. So thank you. Y'all are great. Tiny, teeny, tiny little. There we go. Tiny little pit. All right, we'll main cross check that here in just a little bit. Let's get into this. Let's see, how small is this little brace? That's not big enough. That little hole is not big enough for me to get that little bitty one. Should I come in from the side? I think I might. Let's see, how far over does that go? Yeah, that gets it. Okay. These are out in the open, so we're going to go leverage tool again. I'm going to do the strap again. Oh no, I put my glue gun up, didn't I? Sure did. I wonder if there's any glue still hot in this thing. Let me see if I can extract a little bit of glue from my gun. No. It's already cooling off for me. All good. Put another hanger on there. Use it as leverage. Yeah, you can see it's getting a little gummy. Didn't get to it in time. These show up in that screen? Yeah, they do. There we go. got the light up fairly close. That way we can see it in y'all's screen. But typically when you're doing hail repair, you want the light back maybe a little bit further. You don't want to drown out the dent. You want to be able to see into the dent. So when I'm starting a dent, I'll usually have the light up pretty close, just so I can see down into the dent, find my tool tip. But as you make progress and you improve that defect, you want to start to put that light back and starting to lower your head down and looking straight across that metal. That way you can see even the subtleness of a low, so we can go after those and push them up. So I've got it. I'm keeping it pretty close so you guys can see this area. I'll push that little part up a little high. I'll knock that down. Okay, I'm going cross check and knock those down in just a second. There we go. I'll knock that down. Let's get this down up here. Flexing with it, not forcing it, just keeping a good little rhythm going, just like you're jumping on a trampoline. And on aluminum, because aluminum is a quote-unquote tougher to repair, it's really just because it has additional properties to its structure. It's the structure of atoms, so it feels like it's tougher to push. But really, if you'll just get a good rhythm going and you'll make sure your tooltip is precise, then every once in a while what I'll do is I'll shorten up my downstroke. So as I push up and then let go, push up, let go, if I'll kind of shorten that downward instead of letting go all the way and I go right back into a push again, it's almost like when you double jump somebody on a trampoline, you know. If you've been on a trampoline with a friend, when you go to, you know, you wait for them right as they're coming down and you hit the trampoline right up under their feet, and it either shoots them way up into the sky or it takes their legs out from under them. That's kind of what I'm doing when I'm pushing here. I'm not allowing any of these, you know, the atoms and those electrons conducting that energy. I don't let them, you know, relax. I get a little movement going and then shorten up my push, and it catches them off guard and like breaks their knees. Breaks their knees and makes that metal go right where I need it to go. So if you can imagine that when you're pushing, that'll sometimes help. Brazilian style from up under the metal. Those dudes that taught me that, I think I was working in a garage in 2016, maybe at the start of 2017, and the garage I was in, they also hired some of these Brazilian guys, and they were taking their tools. They would go to Walmart. And would buy a pull stick, a Q, and they would cut off the top of it, and they would use that leather tip. They would get up behind dents, and they would hammer the dents from behind. And I thought that was so fascinating. And so, being the newer tech than them, they encouraged me to do it. Except for when I did it and hit from below, I cracked paint. I hit too hard. They didn't warn me. I hit too hard. I cracked the paint on an aluminum hood in a shop that wasn't mine, on a customer's vehicle. And those Brazilians thought that was the funniest thing ever. Man, they laughed about that for the couple of weeks that we worked together. But, you know, it was funny. All right, that little section is cleaned up. I mean, the smallest defects are going to get cleaned up in my main cross check, but you know, I want to make a lot of improvement with each pass. And let's move down just a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna roll down these windows. We're gonna do a slight. We're gonna change this up just a little bit because this hood, you know, let's change the scenery. My microphone's still going. I'm gonna put on another microphone. I'm gonna plug the phone in. Change up the mic. Let me get a little power going to the phone so it doesn't die. Or actually, I can't, you guys. I gotta unplug the mic in order to get more power. Oh, I got plenty of power. I got 40%. We're good. I'm gonna change the mic out though. Let's see if this works. Might temporarily cut me off. So. Good. Change that up. Mic's changed up. We're gonna get these keys. We're gonna roll down these windows. The headliner is already down. I have it up just a little bit, kind of holding, but we're gonna drop this headliner down. We're gonna get up on this roof and push some dents on this roof. So let's roll these windows down. Roll the windows down. That way we can put our leverage tools in the very upper frame of the door here. We're going to keep the light on this side of the truck. We're going to lift it up and we're going to be standing on that other side over there. So let's put these keys up. We're going to roll this cart. Or you know what? No, let's work that side. We'll work that side over there. Let's do that. We're going to put this here. We're going to get this hood out of the way. It's cool that we still got 40% on this phone. I've been over, what are we at? Like 2 hours almost on this live? What are we at? 167 minutes. Holy moly. All right, do the math. That's awesome. With these 50% of the phone, kind of also lets me know how this is going to go in the future. We got 3 people in the room, 6 likes. Thank you so very much. That means a lot. All right, we got this. I'm going to move the light around to the other side. I'm going to go get my step stool. Get us set up on the roof. We're going to use some hail rods. Right? And when you're doing any kind of repair on the panels, it's the detailer in me that now cleans these panels up properly. Let me see if I can do this. Let's go here. That's gonna be tough. Well, I promise you, we're gonna figure something out. Maybe because You may not be able to see as well. I'm gonna figure this out. This is the first live. This is what we do. We're using this experience to work out some of the kinks. Time's at 5:45. I gotta get home and cook my little girl some shrimp scampi. So let's see what this looks like. Oh man, that might be all right. So I got the hood off, you can see here. All good, brother. Thanks, Victor. You're the man. Thanks for hanging out, man. All right, let's see. This. We're gonna do a couple of dents, and then we're probably gonna call it a night. But what I was saying was the detailer in me learned that before you work on the panel, I gotta get that dirt and debris, the surface contaminants off of the panel. But when I was first starting in dent repair and I was not a detailer, I realized now as a detailer, back then my process of removing dirt was not proper. So this is optimum no rinse. I like to take this optimum no rinse, spray it onto the panel. The technology behind optimum no rinse is that it has emulsifiers. So this liquid encapsulates and lifts up the dirt and debris from the surface. Why is that important? Well, what we're doing is we're lifting that dirt up without driving it into the panel. So we're not introducing any more scratching or marring. You know, if you are going to car washes and you're washing things in the car wash, washing your vehicle in the car wash, you are most likely, unless it's the world's best car wash, you're most likely scratching up your paint because of all that dirt and debris. So the last thing I want to do is introduce even more scratching. So spray that on, it envelops the dirt and debris, and now I'm kind of wiping also in the direction that the wind hits the paint. So wipe in that direction, lifting up that dirt and debris, not causing any more scratching. Now I got a good clear picture for me to go after these dents here. I think next time I go live, I'm gonna put you guys on my headband. I got a headband that's gonna allow me to give you the first person view. This is very close. Yes, I got a dirty clothes hamper. My rags. Let's take a look at what we got up here. Here, I'll give you all a view. Give you guys a little view over here before I take off. I'm about to leave. All right, got the truck, got our light, little stand here, got our cart with our tools right next to us. We come walking up here, step, 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 and boom. We got our dents right out here. You able to see? Yep, so we got our dents right out here. Okay, you can see in the light. Way better. Now, up under here, I've already got it removed, but I have it sitting up on this edge over here. But when we take the headliner down, I'll be able to put my tools on the back side of the metal and push them out just like we were doing on the hood here. But yeah, 5:49. Time flies when you're having fun. It's been fun hanging out with you guys, but I got to get home and cook dinner for my little girl. So a recap for everybody that's not into dent repair. I'm just grateful that you hung out with me on my first live. For those that are getting into dent repair, know what a dent is. Go do some homework and find out exactly what a dent actually is. If you're interested in in-person training, you could always come out here to Texas and train with me. I do one-on-one in-person training, introduction to paintless dent repair. We're talking about the fundamentals. We skill stack, knowing what a dent is, how to use your light. Then we start pushing. How do you push? Well, you got to push pattern. We're flexing with the metal, not against the metal. We don't want to be fighting it. and we learn knockdown, we learn glue pulling. Your knockdown and your glue pulling in dent repair is what I like to call a setup skill. Yes, if we push something high, we can knock it down. Yes, if we have a dent that's really large, we can glue pull, you know, to minimize things. But those two things are to set us up to be able to push. We're pushers. We push metal. And so knockdown and glue pull, they set us up to be able to finish things out by pushing. So that's what we learned in the first week when you're out here. If you're with me with 2 weeks, we combine all of those skills and we actually put them into practice, real world dent repair. So know what a dent is. Everybody that's going through that journey and may not be able to afford in-person training, get some online training, okay? Dent Reaper's got some good online training. There's quite a bit out there online. Mitchell from Real World PDR, go check him out. Great characters, funny guy, great teachers. Okay, so get some online training, or in your area, if you can't travel, like out to Texas, find who in your area trains and get some one-on-one training, because it will speed up your process, I promise. Don't be like me and struggle for 5 years before it finally starts to click. Get some training, but at home, at least start with knowing what a dent actually is. Now work hard. Go be great.